So you feel anxious and somewhere in you a question starts to bubble up. What is this trying to tell me? What's wrong? What have I missed? So here's what I want to show you in the next few minutes, is that that feeling is telling you something, but it's almost never the thing that you think it is. So you get anxious, worried, or an unsettled feeling. Maybe it's the tight feeling in your chest before a meeting, or that dread feeling on a Sunday night, or a wave of, oh, I handled that badly 3 hours after you'd, met someone. And straight away you go looking for a cause. So you assume that that feeling is some kind of report, like an accurate gauge on how your life is going, or on what might happen, or on the kind of person that you are. And if it feels bad, it must mean something's wrong, and it must mean something's wrong about me. And that's the assumption that I want to bust in this video today. Because if you believe a horrible feeling is telling you the truth about you, of course you don't want to feel it. Of course you're going to want to push it down. I mean, who'd want to sit with that? But here's what's really happening. So a difficult feeling is a signal. It's your system saying something needs your attention here. That part is real. And I'm not going to tell you that your feelings are meaningless, because you'd know that was rubbish, right? They're here for a reason. But the signal points in one of two directions, and learning to tell which is really a skill. So sometimes the feeling is pointing at something that does require your attention. A boundary that maybe has been crossed, or a decision that doesn't feel right for you, or a job that you've outgrown, or maybe some grief that you haven't really given enough time or space to. So that feeling is information. It's a nudge from your inner wisdom. And the response is to notice that and then allow yourself to feel it. But a lot of the time, the feeling is pointing to something else entirely. It's not telling you about your life. It's telling you that you have been pulled into a story running in your head, in a voice that sounds a hell of a lot like you, about how you're failing, about how you're not enough, about this is just who you are, or about some kind of scary outcome that's likely to happen in your life. And I call that voice Sue. So it's the inner, overly responsible critic. And the feeling in this case isn't a verdict on your life. It's a bell going off, a little alarm saying you're up in your head believing something that Sue has made up about you. So how do you know which one you've got? So here's how to start distinguishing this, and it's actually a lot simpler than you think. So a true signal about the situation, it points to something that you can respond to. Your job, a conversation, a boundary. Sue's story is about you. It's about your worth, about your character, and it's always pretty sweeping or permanent sounding. I always get this wrong. I'm going to lose my job. This is just how I am. It'll never change. So the question to ask when feelings like this arise, is this pointing at something I can do something about? Or is it just Sue telling me that I'm the problem again? So is it the situation, or is it the character? That's the fork in the road. And once you can feel the difference, everything starts to get lighter and easier. Now, you might need to wait until you're in a more settled state to be able to distinguish this fork easily. But the more that you get to know when the voice of Sue is talking versus your own inner knowing, the easier and quicker this becomes. But as a general rule of thumb, Sue is likely to be more active and louder more of the time within your experience. So I want to make this concrete. So let's say that you snapped at your child, and up comes that feeling, in comes the voice, I'm a terrible mother, I've damaged them, this is who I am, I always do this, I always overreact. Now, is that pointing at something you can respond to? Partly it is, yes. Maybe you can go and repair it. Say you're sorry. Have an honest conversation with your child about where that reaction came from. That's the true signal, and it is worth acting on. But the I'm a terrible mother, this is who I am, I always do this, that's not information. That's Sue. That's the story. And if you believe it's the truth about you, you will spend your evening going round and around in it and drowning in that feeling. So if you can see it's Sue, you can feel the feeling, do the repair, and then just let the rest be there. So it's the same feeling, but it's got two completely different directions, and the skill really is telling them apart and seeing what's what in that. So I want to leave you with a picture or a metaphor, because thought is slippery, and this I hope will help to make it more tangible. So imagine that you're standing in a strong wind and it's really gusting in your face and it's messing up your hair and it's not very pleasant. So you wouldn't stand there and think, what does this wind mean about me? Why does this keep blowing in my face? Why does this keep happening? What's wrong with me that the wind is blowing? Like, you'd know that was a bit mad. It's just the weather. It's an energy moving through. It will pass. It will calm down. It's nothing to do with who you are. And your thoughts and feelings are the same. They move through. They gust up and then they drop away. Because they show up in a voice that sounds like you, talking about you, you take them personally, and we treat this weather as though it is a verdict. And it isn't. The wind always drops. The weather always changes. It always has. And the same is true. New thought, new feeling always comes along. It always settles every single time. So the next time that a hard feeling arrives, you've got one question. Is it pointing at something I can respond to? Or is it Sue trying to tell me that I'm the problem again? So you don't have to silence the feelings. You don't have to fix yourself. We just have to notice which fork in the road we're at. Which way is it pointing? And if you want to get to know the voice in your head, the one that I call Sue, I've made a 2-minute quiz that shows you how yours operates. And it is the fastest way to start telling the difference between what's true, something you can respond to, and what's just a story. And the link is in the description and in the comment below. So I really hope you go and explore that quiz, because it's fascinating how Sue talks, and learning to identify her 3 drives, which spell her name: safety, uncertainty, and exposure, is really the key to having a hugely different experience in your life. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.